Alright guys, so now we're going to do the top of the glove, which is this portion right here. It kind of matches the portion down here. So the first thing we're going to do is purl all the stitches. So move your yarn to the front and purl all the stitches. I don't need that anymore. I'm using it to row count, and it wasn't working very well because I messed up. So purl one round. I always pull it tight at the first stitch when you switch needles. I'm also eating some gluten and dairy-free stuffing right here, left over from Thanksgiving. It's super good. Did you know they made gluten-free stuffing? They do. So we're just going to continue purling around. A lot of knitters don't like the purl stitch. I don't understand why. It's not really that different. It doesn't bother me at all. Alright, so now for round 2, we're going to knit all the stitches. So knit all the stitches. Maybe they don't like the purl stitch because when you first start, you learn the knit stitch, and you do that a whole lot. So the purl stitch seems odd or alien, and you're not used to it perhaps, but I've been knitting for so long. I'm super used to doing knitting, purling. I have a little bit of trouble with cables sometimes, but I love color work. I've decided my next video will be crochet owl gloves, as I got a request from somebody on one of these videos. I'm not very good at remembering names, but I'm going to make a pair of crochet gloves that have owls on them somehow. I haven't quite figured it out, and I haven't started on it, but it's going to happen. Alright, so now we're going to repeat rounds 1 and 2 3 times. So we're going to purl again. One whole round. The thing I find annoying when knitting is knit one, purl one, like when you're doing knit one, purl one, making ribbing. I like knit two, purl two better, because knit one, purl one, you're switching back and forth from knitting to purl over and over again, and it can get really tedious, at least for me. But maybe I just need to do it more, and then I will be good at it. Purl. Last needle. So I don't know if you guys know, but I have a 16-month-old baby. His name's Ruben. And today I was sitting on the couch reading a book, and I left my purse on the ground, and I have a pair of socks that I'm knitting in there. And I'm knitting on size 2 needles, so they're really thin and tiny. Well, now we're going to knit row 2. I left this on top because we just gotten back from Thanksgiving with my grandmother, my husband's grandmother, my mother-in-law, and he got in there, he pulled all the needles off my sock and broke one of them, and I heard the sound of the needle breaking. That's what caught me out of my book. And my husband was in the bathroom, and I snatched it from him and fixed it. Like, I put everything back on the needles, and he didn't know what he was doing. It was my fault for leaving it where he could get into it because he's 16 months old. He's just really curious, but now I need to buy more size 2 needles because I only have 4 instead of 5. And my sock is fine, everything's fine, but I was definitely a little more upset about that than perhaps I should have been. Alright, so now we're going to repeat rounds 1 and 2 one more time, the last time. So we're going to purl 1 round and then knit a round. So first I'm going to purl. Again, I wonder how fast I can purl. Not that fast. Since I throw the yarn, it's slower than if I were to pick it up in one motion, but since I've been throwing the yarn, by the way, throwing the yarn is moving the yarn like this, and some people pick the yarn, so they'll use their needle to pick up the yarn and pull it through. When you pick the yarn, it is faster, but I just don't know how to do it since I learned throwing the yarn, and it works better for me. Even when I crochet, if you're a crocheter, I throw the yarn when I'm crocheting too, which you're supposed to pick the yarn. I mean, it's a crochet hook, you're supposed to grab it with your hook, but I throw it over the hook. And it just works for me. Ah. So which one do you do? Do you throw the yarn or pick the yarn? And did you even know there was a difference? Because I did not know the difference for the longest time. Alright, now I'm going to knit around. And this is the last round before I'm going to bind off the top of my glove. I'm going to have more than enough yarn left over, maybe enough for half a pair of gloves, like if I do some kind of color correction. I have another ball of the same yarn in a different color because I planned on making gloves for Christmas gifts for my friends. This is the first pair, it'll be for someone's gift. Now I'm going to bind off with a purl stitch, so I don't know if you guys have ever done that before, so I'll make sure to be really exact. So usually you knit a stitch and then you bind off and slip it over, but you just do the same thing, but you purl it. So purl the first stitch, purl the second stitch, and then pass the first stitch over the second one and off the needle. Then you keep purling around, purl one, pass over and off, purl one, pass over and off. And if you are a tight knitter, you want to go up a needle size when you're doing this so that it's not tight at the top, but I just make sure that I purl very loosely and make sure this is very loose so I can easily pull it over and off. Then just discard that needle, turn your work, and keep purling and pulling off. Purl one, pull it off. Purl one, pull it off. Purl one, pull it off. purl one, oops, over. Right now I have a babysitter watching my son back in his bedroom and their door is closed and I can still hear him laughing and talking. He's having lots of fun with one-on-one attention. Continue on to the very last needle. And I just realized that I don't have a pair of scissors with me. Purl, go off. Purl, and go off. I'm going to make paleo pizza for dinner. You make the crust out of almond and cassava flour, and you put tomato sauce on it, and I don't put any kind of cheese on it, and toppings. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so now I reached the top. I'm going to have to go get scissors. Kitchen scissors to the rescue. So I want to leave a little bit of a long tail for weaving in. And you just cut it. And then what I like to do is yarn over and pull this over just to create a really tight knot. And then I will weave this in later. But first we're going to go on to the thumb. So I like to use these short needles to do the thumb. This is what a regular needle length is. And these ones are really short. But your regular needles will work just as fine. You'll just have to push them back and forth a lot. So for the thumb, we're going to undo the yarn that's holding the stitches. Or if you're like me and can't undo it, you can always cut it. Hey, I got it. Then I just pull it off. Oops, there's a knot in it right there. Pull it off. Now we're going to put 5 stitches on the first needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 stitches on another needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to pick up stitches from the back right here. So I'm going to pick up 5 stitches. 1, just kind of pick it up. 2, 3, 4, I'm going to pick one up right here. There's 5 on the back. Now we just take our working yarn and start knitting and purling. We're going to start with a purl. So I like to start right at these extra stitches. So on the back of the thumb, on the stitches that we picked up. And we're going to purl starting first. So you're just going to purl. Sometimes these stitches can be the hardest ones to get for one round. This can be a hard part. So we're just purling. Doing the thumb is a bit of a juggling match. It can be pretty hard to navigate and not lose stitches, know what you're doing. All right, and now you're going to knit around. And of course my pattern is written for a generic hand, basically for my hand. So you may need to add a round or two here. Just try it on in between, or take away a round or two. Everyone's hands and thumbs are in different areas, different lengths, different widths. That's why sometimes you need a bit of wiggle room, or tailoring, I guess would be the correct word. A bit of tailoring. Oops. In order to get it to work and fit right from person to person. I like to think of patterns as pretty specific guidelines at best, but not like set in stone. You can easily change a pattern here and there to tweak it for your individual measurements, which is something you'll learn about as you knit more things. First, when I started knitting, I was very rigid with my patterns that I was using, and now I'm just more like guidelines. All right, now we're going to repeat this one more time. We're going to purl a row. And then we're going to knit another row. So we're keeping the same kind of pattern that's in this part. I know there's a name for it, but I don't know what it is. I just know how to do it, so it works for me. So now we're going to knit a row. This is row 2. And then I'm going to try it on because I might have enough stitches just with 2 rows. Oops. I might not need the third repetition. Because you don't want to make it too long. I think this will be long enough for me. So I'm going to try it on. Yeah, I think I'm going to bind off on this round. Let's see how long the other one is. Oh yeah, definitely long enough. So I'm not going to do the extra repeat because I have short little stubbly thumbs. So we're just going to bind off, and I'm going to bind off in a purl, just like I did the top of here. So purl 2, cross it over, and then you just keep purling and crossing over all the way around, making sure you do so loosely, of course. you just discard, keep going. Purl, cross, purl, cross, purl, cross. Oops. Come on. You want to go over there. Purl, cross. Just keep going. Then you're going to cut. Oops, I cut that too. And I always yarn over and pull through just to bind it off. And then we're going to weave in all of the ends, and then our glove is basically done. So I like to start at the top right here. And sometimes there can be a little bit of a gap. So I'll try to make that look as uniform as possible. Looks pretty good to me. And then I just weave in on the inside, weave it down. A lot of people will just follow the yarn so it looks like it's part of the yarn. I don't really do that, and I'm not sure of the right or the wrong way to weave in ends, but this is just the way I do it. And if you know a better way or a way that suits you better, do that. If this was like a piece that I could turn inside out, I might be more careful with weaving things in, but this is only meant to wear this one way. Though I suppose if you weaved it in, you could turn it inside out. But now I'm going to do the top of the thumb. I'm just going to try to make it as uniform as possible. And then I'm going to hide both of these yarns inside, and I'm going to finish weaving them in when I turn the glove inside out, because those will need to be on the inside. And now I'm going to do the bottom one. Just weave that in and up. And then I pop it inside out to tie off the last two. So I usually tie a knot in it. Now I have an extra spot here to weave in because I had to cut the yarn. Alright, and then we're done. So just flip it right side out, and you can block it if you want to, but I don't think these need to be blocked. And you're done. Just wear. Wear and wear. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you enjoy your gloves as much as I enjoy these. Such fun. Fun, fun, fun. See you next time. Bye.